Welcome to episode 3 of the Purple Patch Sales Edge podcast with me, Danielle Da Cunha Howarth, and the lovely Lucy Lee. In today's episode, we discuss what professional and personal branding is, how to understand and find out your strengths and how other people describe you, how to gain a better understanding of your LinkedIn profile, how to build a professional brand and drive more traffic to your profile. We discuss a couple of controversial topics around trust and authenticity, and we also have a special guest, Nala, Lucy's dog. Hello, Lucy.
Hey, Danielle.
How are you? I'm really good, thank
good.
you.
How are
Really
you?
good. The weather here is incredible at the moment. I've got lots of people coming out to visit us soon, which is great. And life's good. Life is really good. How about you?
It's good. I said to you earlier, you actually look more tan than I do. I'm looking pretty pale
you know
in this
me,
Australian winter.
I go brown under a light bulb at the best of times. So yeah, I'm trying to get out in it. I've been running a bit more outside again. Now my ankle is finally
Nice.
healed. So yeah, it's good. A lot of outside. Well, what are we talking about today, my friend?
This is probably your favourite subject. We are pivoting
We
to
are
personal brand
and
today.
professional branding. I do love this topic. But you are equally very, I feel like you're very good at this, and I feel like you're actually probably better than I am at this. But I think it's a great subject. It's a topic that comes up for most people, whether you work in sales or not. And it is something that comes up often. I know when I'm in my coaching practice, it's definitely a topic that comes up often. So we thought we'd bring it to the stage today, to the Purple Patch podcast.
All our
So, okay,
secrets.
well, I think where do we start? I think where we start is Nala's come to join. Hi, Nala.
It's going to
That's
sit
very
on the
nice.
podcast, I
If
think.
people are watching the video,
There you go.
we've got
Just
the lovely
sit
Nala
bloody
who's
quietly.
just joined us. Okay, so first of all, what is professional branding? So if I was to ask you that question, Lucy, putting you on the spot, what is professional branding to you? Off the bat, how would you answer that question?
So for me, it's how people would describe me in a professional setting
nice.
without me being there.
Nice. That's very good and very true. So what I did was I actually do a training on this, and I do it at all levels, whether it's a BDR and SDR, right the way up to executives. And one thing that I always quote is, what is its definition? What is its definition? So I've got it here. So what is professional brand? Branding is a marketing concept and tool, which I think we'd all agree. Your brand reflects your professional reputation, what you're known for, as you were saying, or would like to be known for. Very important. We'll come back to that. When your reputation is a good one, it includes marketable distinctions like positive characteristics and achievements. And I got that from the Executive Director of Career Services at Warrington College of Business. There you go. So that aligns perfectly, right, with what you were saying. What are your kind of marketable distinctions and positive characteristics and achievements, Lucy? There's another one here. I've got another one for you. Your brand is a perception or emotion maintained by somebody other than you, because, we all think we're great. Yep. That describes the total experience of having a relationship with you, right? Now, this one I really like, because this one I think does come down to sales a lot. And the reason that I think it comes down to sales is the last piece. It's the total experience of having a relationship with you. Now, in sales, whether that relationship, depending on how long your sales cycle is, how complex your solution or service is or product, you can hold a relationship with these people for quite some time. And you can hold these relationships with multiple people across the business. So I think, how would your prospects, customers describe that experience of working with you throughout a deal is a really, really interesting one. So you were spot on, Lucy.
I agree. how would you, I think there's two lenses. I remember you saying to me actually really early on, like it's your personal brand, it's your professional brand. Like, you know, you've got to build it. It takes time. You've got to be careful around how you use it almost. And I think we were talking about this last week when we were talking about the topic. It's a lot of personal and professional brand almost now. People don't want to tie themselves to businesses. And that is because of a lack of trust, a lack of sentiment around corporate environments that people actually don't want to tie themselves with very much.
It's an
What's your
interesting
perception
one.
of that?
And I think trust is a massive thing at the moment. Why do I think trust is a huge thing? It's interesting that you point out there, like the association to a brand. I would never, even throughout my career, I don't associate myself to the company that I work for, and I never have, because that company throughout my life will always continue to change. And companies do good and they do bad. And I can't control what the company does, but I can control myself and the experience that people have with me. So I can totally understand that. I think there's a lack of trust at the moment, particularly with professional branding. With the introduction of tools such as ChatGPT, right? How much of what people are putting out there is based on experience, based on truth, and not curated. And I think that's where some of the trust issues kind of come from at the moment as well, is, well, are you really an expert in that? How long have you done it? Why should I listen to you over somebody else? And did you actually write that? Or have you had some help in writing that? I think that's where there's some lack of trust that's coming out at the moment as well. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think I actually didn't know you thought that around not tying yourself to a business, because I think that's something that I've only probably taken on in the last few years, because I'm just, you know what, I'm all in or all out. So I end up just drinking from the Kool-Aid so much. And then in the last couple of years, I'm like, actually, I'm not going to do that, because I think I'd never really tied it down to that. But like, a brand can change and my stability and my roots are probably going to stay pretty similar. How I started building on that brand was essentially, I set myself a challenge, which is what we were talking about last time on the habits and discipline over motivation. I posted for 90 days consistently on LinkedIn. Every day I would either like pre-plan it on a Sunday night, sit down there, like think of things to post. And there's a really good, I can't remember where I read it, there's a book, and it was like, if you can't think of like 5 things to post about with the thing that you're trying to post about, is probably not the thing you should be posting about, because it's just not passionate enough, or you don't know enough about it, or it's not like a thing. And that was about 2.5 years ago. So clearly I still love the thing, and that's probably
absolutely
why we're doing the podcast together.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one, and one that I think we could go down a huge rabbit hole. So I'm going to stop us going down the ChatGPT rabbit hole at the moment. But let's stay on the professional brand piece, right? Because actually in my training that I do with a lot of people is that we start to think, I get people to think a little bit differently about their brand. And I know there's a lot of chat out there about, you know, you should always bring your authentic self to work. Always like,
I can't wait until we're about to say this.
100% of you. Like, if you can't be you at work, then there's something wrong. And I could not. I
call bullshit.
I completely disagree, right? Because you cannot and you should not bring every single part of you to work, because there are 2 parts of you. Like, on a weekend, I really enjoy a drink. Am I going to enjoy a drink throughout the day at work? No. Like, I have an incredibly dark sense of humor. Incredibly dark. Am I going to bring all of my like jokes to work? Absolutely not, and nor should I, because that is fun me, right? That is me that gets to let loose and enjoy. I'm being employed, I'm being paid, I'm being asked by people to come and do a job, and I'm going to come and do that job professionally, and I'm going to bring the best professional parts of me to work. And so it's not false. Yeah. It's not like you're being restricted. It's like swearing in front of your parents, right? You don't F and Jeff in front of your parents. There is a switch for that in the back of the brain, that swear words don't exist when you are around your family and friends. And it's the same thing for work. And it's not unauthentic, right? You could be out at a rave all Saturday into the early hours of Sunday morning, doing all kinds of crazy things, and you can put a suit on, or you can put whatever you wear on a Monday and then go to work and be that professional person that you need to be. And I think that's okay. That's not being unauthentic. That's just going, there is work me and there is home life me. And I'm more than happy to keep those two separate. So there you go.
Maybe we should repost this episode before all the SCOs go out. That's to remind people about that. Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. I remember you were saying something about Morrison's when you first started in the working world.
So again, this comes back to less about brand. This is more about being aware of the judginess in all of us. We do judge people. We judge people in the first 10 seconds that we meet them. And when I was at college, I used to work at Morrison's in the north of England, which is a supermarket. And I worked on the deli. And I used to serve cheese and meat and takeaway items. And I wouldn't be doing that now. Anyway, so that was my first proper job where I had to clock in, clock out. I was getting paid through PAYE. And Lorraine. So I met loads of other students. There were lots of people that worked on the deli full time. There was lots of other students, and I met Lorraine. And she's after about a week or two of working together, she said to me, when I saw you, you came down the corridor and you had your curly hair and your big smile and your blah, blah. And she said, and I thought, this person's going to be a right dick. And she said, I could not have been more wrong. You are just such a pleasure to be around, and you're fun, and, there's nothing. Yeah, I think she thought I was going to be a little bit up my own bottom, and I wasn't. And I think that's just
definitely not.
That just remember. So I suppose it always makes me laugh, and I always tell that story because I suppose I could look like that because maybe I do. I don't know, but everybody can misjudge in the first 10 seconds.
When we talk about strengths of personal and professional brand, what are our tips to people trying to build that within their own realm?
So for me, I think it's really knowing what those strengths are. And I don't think we spend enough time understanding them, engaging with people. We go through our job engaging with people, but seldom do we ever stop and pause and actually ask people to help us identify those those traits. What was it about working with me that you enjoyed? What do you think I bring to the table professionally? What do you think my specialities are? What are my characteristics? Actually, what are my achievements that I feel I can kind of bring to the table and probably talk a little bit more about? And that does take carving out some time, right? It takes a little bit of self-reflection. I do some really nice sessions with people where we kind of write an email together that's going to go out to either, people that we've just sold to. It could be people that I engage with and work with in the day to day. And we actually ask them to articulate those things for us because we don't I'm English, you're English, right? We're not chest beaters. We're actually not very good at talking about ourselves. In fact, it's the opposite with English people. We like to put ourselves down and make a joke out of it. So it's not natural for us to come up with words to describe ourselves. So doing something like this gives you the words, gives you the language, gives you the narrative to actually go, yeah, wow, I would never have thought that about myself, or I probably wouldn't have used that kind of language for myself. But it arms you with new language. It arms you with new ways to describe how you like to work. I know when I talk about Purple Patch, when I'm with clients, my values are, we're not here to embed ourselves in your business, right? We're here to offer fractional resources to help provide a service or build a muscle stronger and faster. I stand by that. And that's, that I think the values of the business come very much from my character as well. So yeah, I would absolutely advise like going away, speaking to people and doing that self-discovery to understand what your characteristics are, really getting comfortable with describing your achievements and your specialities. Like, what are you a specialist at that you can confidently stand by and not curate, So yeah, that would be mine.
Yeah.
But for you, I'm going to ask you a question now, because one thing that I would say I'm not very good at, I think I know myself, I know my experience, I know my achievements. I think I'm at that lovely age now where I've got a lot of experience to kind of speak to. What I'm not very good at is putting it out there. And actually this podcast and everything that comes with this is really outside of my comfort zone, because I like in person, I suppose, again, the English in me, I'm not a chest beater, but what you're incredible at, Lucy, is just putting yourself out there, not thinking about it twice, right? You are, I've said this before, you are fearless, absolutely fearless. And you're great for me because you push me out of my comfort zone. But yeah, talk to me about, because you're so active on LinkedIn, you're so active on your socials, and you get such amazing responses. Tell me about why you commit to that. It's really, I'd love to know more about.
The initial part of it was when we were working together, and I was like, right, 90 days, like, have I got the content? I want to build a muscle. You also all of a sudden realized, because when you just start talking about sales, it was like this big tree. And then when you start doubling down on the things that you actually know a lot about, mine tends to be a lot about AEs, SDRs, and then that real SMB mid-market leadership. And then that's where you play very well, because we've essentially covered SDR right the way through to actual SVP, because that's you, like end to end, right? So we do really well. When it came to me just curating content, honestly, I was like, right, I'm going to do it for 90 days and see if I enjoy it. And I did it for 90 days and enjoyed it. So therefore, it's not very structured anymore, but it tends to be at least 3 times a week. And it will just be what is top of mind for me, essentially. So if it is, I did one on mindset the other day. I have a bit of a theory around the people that I speak to, and I ask them what they're looking for help with. That's what I'll post about, because essentially that's the only reason I'm posting, is because I actually think it's valuable. And when I was at HubSpot, they give you free software. So I went and created the little Selling Social, which is just the coaching business. It's 1-to-1, but everything was free. All the content online was all free. And it's essentially just bringing all of that to life. I was like, I just like talking about it. It reaches a lot of people, because I don't believe at that lower end of like the entry levels of sales that you actually get much support without paying a lot of money. So it was like, here's the content you need. Look, it's not created. Like, I should probably start scrolling back and putting things in a bit of an order, but hopefully it just adds value. And I never do more than one take, which is why they're not perfect. It's why they're not photoshopped, not edited.
No, I love that. I love
straight
that.
off the cuff. And
I love that. I love that you are talking about things that you're actually experiencing in the day-to-day. I like that it's not like too curated. I like that it's just first take and go. And I love it. You get such great responses, sometimes quite controversial responses, which oh
my God, that was mad. I got messages and I said, I must have made it, because it went like mental. And I got blocked. Basically, this long story short of it was, I put a screenshot up of my own voicemail on the screen, and I had like 6 voicemails, and I just pressed 333, which is delete. I didn't listen to any of them. And so therefore I was like, right, it's in my brain, it's going out. So I was like, sod this, stop leaving voicemails, no one cares. And especially when they don't know how to leave them. They're not vacuum, like well curated voices. And I want to just talk to you about an opportunity. And it's like, you're not going to get anywhere. The only thing that person gets out of that is clicking call completed or left voicemail. And it's like, thank you for my stats for the day. And one person came in very hot and was like, I disagree. Like, very American, was it's against the law over here, and like went in on it. Like, you can't, I said potentially you should text them, loom them, like there's different methods of prospecting, and just got this like, I went mental. I actually had to stop the comments. I was like, I have to stop this.
Yeah,
this is ridiculous.
But everybody got their opinion. It was great. Like, and again, as you said, getting that kind of response is still good, right? It's still yeah.
You came in and were like, Lucy, this person may not have woken up on the right side of bed that day. And I was like, that's the other
they'll have had
lens.
about them, but yeah, I don't think hailing abuse on LinkedIn is the right way to go about it. But anyway, we digress. But no, it's really good. And if you are listening to the podcast, I would highly recommend that you follow Lucy, because she does, kind of 3 days a week, just really tactical things that you can go and apply day to day in sales, which is really good, and she's got a great following. So thanks for sharing. And again, that's very much part of building your professional brand as well. The other thing that we were going to kind of talk about here in this was, again, I mentioned about uncovering your strengths, knowing and being aware of them, being able to articulate them in a really great way, but also use them in the right way. I think once you know what your strengths are, really, 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 really push on them. Because I hate when people talk about strengths and weaknesses, but I'll go there. The things that you're not so great at or that you don't really enjoy, you're only ever going to get those things to competent, ever, right? Because you don't like it. But your strengths, the areas that you play really well, keep going at those, because your strengths will only ever get stronger. And I think it's just, something to really be aware of. The other thing that we then tend to do is, we LinkedIn is still mega powerful, right? Particularly in sales. And it's mega powerful for two reasons. The first one is, hopefully, if you are using a tool such as LinkedIn Sales Navigator, which is the sales solution of LinkedIn, if you're using that really well and you're using it as part of your outreach strategy and reaching out to people, liking, commenting, messaging, emailing, then there's two things that are going to happen there. That you are going to get responses if you're doing it and you're doing it well and you're doing it consistently. But the second thing that you're doing is you're actually driving traffic back to your own profile from these people, right? So if you're emailing them, messaging them, commenting them, if you're mentioning them on articles or white papers that you think would be really interesting to them, you're going to drive that traffic back to your profile. And again, highlighting your strengths, where you've worked, your experience, being a subject matter expert in that solution, in that field, again, is another really, really great way of being able to do that. So, what do you think, Lucy? You do a lot of coaching on that.
I think, I do a lot of it. And I also think I just reflect back to actually your technique. And I think there's two ways you can go about it, right? Like, clearly I'm driving an audience. Like, I really want those followers. And to drive the engagement, whereas you do that but with people that you genuinely know are a good fit. So it's like, I've spoken to you and asked you so many times, I'm right in thinking this, correct me if I'm wrong, you still don't add people or accept people that you don't have a connection with or know nothing about. It's essentially, if I go on to someone who's connected with Danielle, I know they know Danielle, which essentially is very powerful. So I do believe there's two angles to it. I don't believe it's just like, just get your brand out there and off you go. A lot of the time your brand is referrals anyway. And that has been proven from you really well in regards to, I've done it so many times. I'm Danielle, do you know this person? And it's like, instant connection, because they've genuinely worked with you or had that connection, not just,
and I think what's really good is they've changed the functionality, right? Whereas now you can actually follow people. So if people are interested in following me and what we're doing and seeing what we're posting, etc., they can do that. But to connect with me, I will not connect with people unless I have spoken with them, emailed them, seen the whites of their eyes in a meeting, or they are a friend, relative, etc., etc. I just won't. And that actually comes back to the LinkedIn days. That's actually what we used to tell people to do back at LinkedIn. It was like, don't just accept anybody and everybody. Your network is your net worth, right? So if I'm looking on LinkedIn Sales Navigator and I see that I have a second degree connection, that second degree connection should be somebody that I could go and speak to and say, hey, how do you know so-and-so? Do you know them well? Could you give me any information? Do you think you could introduce me to them? If your network of connections is just made up of people that have just sent you a connection request, like that, to me, that piece of functionality just becomes null and void. It's pointless. It's absolutely pointless. Yeah. So, yes.
Yeah,
you are
I agree.
right.
And people
that
just
still
connect.
What I do.
I love it. They just need to follow Purple Patch.
Yeah, just follow us. Follow us instead. I want to kind of give some people, I suppose, some tips and things that they can be doing in order to really drill down into their professional brand. I think for me, the first one is really, really doing that hard work. And it's not hard work, it's just carving out the time to do it, but actually carving out that time to speak with ideally people that are not your friends, right? Your friends love you anyway. They're always going to love you. Yeah. People that have engaged with you, such as customers that you've just taken through a sales cycle, your manager. It could be people that you engage with that aren't in your direct team. Pull an email together. In fact, I think I even have a template that I can attach to the podcast. So send an email out, tell them you're doing this self-reflection piece, and it will just help them to kind of come back to you and just say, look, I want complete honesty. How would you describe me? Use their language. Then you can collate that. Now, it's really interesting. You can then start to pull out where you're seeing your strengths. And it's really, really interesting. So that would be my number one tip first off. How about you, Lucy? What are you going to tell them to go and do?
I think they should do a very similar exercise, but do it with their internal stakeholders. Because then they start to understand what the perception for them it can almost start splitting up between the personal and professional brand is. I had one person, again, this was something that you said to do with our stakeholders. So I went out to one of them, and one of them was like, Lucy's great, blah, blah, blah. And then it was the areas for improvement. And they had to put something down, otherwise it's not constructive. The area of improvement was Lucy is great with her emails that she sends out to like the large audience. However, it would be good sometimes if she just slowed down and watched her grammar.
And it's so valid. You were like...
And I was like, so valid, because I was like that. I always just slow down, like devil's in the detail. You've always said that. But secondly, like it was so detailed that clearly they knew me. You would only know that if I had that amount of contact with you to pick up on those things. So I think doing that with like your outsider customers and doing it internally is really good. And then also if you're thinking about trying to build brands on LinkedIn, like don't think about building a brand on LinkedIn. Just post about stuff you genuinely enjoy and you think you can add value to, because that way it's the same thing as a lot of this stuff when we were talking about last week is a week before. It's don't put a goal in place to have a good brand awareness. Just post. Because if you just post and don't have a goal, you'll still post. But if you have a goal, you've still got to post. Like you've got to take away the end goal and just kind of enjoy the journey a little bit more, and you'll naturally just improve.
All right. So one other thing that I would say as well is do constantly update your LinkedIn profile. Always with your achievements, new solutions, like use all of your company's collateral as well, right? Like it's really good to use your company's collateral. But the recommendations piece is such a powerful thing to use. As soon as you have, taken a customer through a sales cycle, delivered a really great project, whatever that is, ask them for a recommendation on LinkedIn. Give them some dot points so it makes it a little bit easier for them to do. But I always try and do this and try and keep them I try to get a good 2 or 3 a year is what I kind of try and aim to do. Some people won't give them. They say they will and then they won't. But they're never going to give them unless you ask. So I think it's a really good one. So that brings us to the end of this podcast. We hope you've enjoyed it. Again, please do like, follow, subscribe, share. And again, if you have any ideas, any questions, and we want to help, like if you have any challenges anonymously, you can email us at info@visitpurplepatch.com. You can message us directly on LinkedIn, and we do have a phone number as well. I just can't remember it right now. Send us some WhatsApps. Yeah, we want to hear your pain and we want to talk about it. But yeah, it's been a great topic today. LL, thanks very much. It's been great. Until next time.